This week, Ravensburger finally revealed a bunch of cards coming in set 7, Archazia's Island. They also detailed how the dual ink cards work and what the puzzle cards in each booster pack will be this time around. But before we get into it, I want to remind everyone to please like this video and subscribe to the Sorcerer's Hat for more Disney Lorcana content. I post brand new videos every Friday. Alright, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into the details. Before we look at all of the card reveals, let's talk about dual ink cards. So when the set was first revealed, there was a lot of speculation that it would include dual ink or dual color cards as a new mechanic, and we were right. According to Ravensburger, dual ink cards are only playable in decks that are currently running both ink colors. So you can't play an amber steel card in a deck that's not running those two colors, even if one of the colors matches. I actually like this a lot because it means that the designers can create cards for very specific deck archetypes and buff them up a bit without more powerful decks benefiting from those same cards. Ravensburger also announced that inside each booster pack there will be a lore card. It's the same puzzle card you know, but instead of having a barcode on the back, it will have a piece of lore. We don't actually know how many of these there are going to be, but it's pretty cool, honestly. Alright, now let's take a look at some cards. Based on some feedback and polls I ran in the previous spoiler season, I'm going to be changing up the order in which I talk about the cards. So we'll be going from highest rarity to lowest rarity. And I'm going to include the previously revealed set 7 cards as well, since I didn't get a chance to talk about them before. Also, work was really busy this week, so I didn't have time to review every card revealed this week because there were just so many. So I picked out mostly the higher rarity cards for now, and hopefully I'll be able to catch up on cards next week, but there are a lot in this video. Anyway, let's do it. Alright, so on to our first legendary. This is Ratigan, Nefarious Criminal. He's an inkable 4-cost ruby character card with 3 strength, 3 willpower, and he quests for 1. He has 1 ability, a marvelous performance. Whenever you play an action while this character is exerted, gain 1 lore. I don't hate this card. It gives some nice support to the Ruby Amethyst or Ruby Sapphire burn decks. The fact that it needs to be exerted though is a bit of a negative. However, the stats aren't that bad and the ability is fairly cool, so I dig it overall. Who knows if it'll see any meaningful constructed play, but in draft, this is probably a really good card to grab. Next up is Aurora, Waking Beauty. She is an inkable 3-cost amber character card with 1 strength, 4 willpower. She quests for 2. She has Singer 5 and 1 ability, Sweet Dreams. Whenever you remove 1 or more damage from a character, ready this character. She can't quest or challenge for the rest of the turn. When I first saw this card, I was kinda confused, and I didn't think it was all that great, but after talking to some folks at my locals, I think I've come around on it a little bit. Let's say you're playing Steel Song. You could play this on turn 3. Turn 4, you could use this to swing into one of your opponent's characters, then heal with Rapunzel, which would then ready Aurora and allow her to sing a 5-cost song all in the same turn. So that play's honestly not that bad. Whether you take Ariel out for this though remains to be seen, but the art is fantastic though. Next up is a pretty spicy one. This is Tamatoa, Happy as a Clam. He is an inkable 6-cost Sapphire character card with 4 strength, 5 willpower. He quests for 2. He has 2 abilities. His first one is Coolest Collection. When you play this character, return up to 2 item cards from your discard to your hand. And his second ability is I'm Beautiful, Baby. Whenever this character quests, you may play an item for free. I really like this card. It has some positive things going for it above the current Tamatoa, but I don't think it outright replaces it in a lot of decks. However, if you want to get away from using Lucky Dime in your Ruby Sapphire deck, then this is actually a pretty good choice for your deck. I don't know if you'd run both Tamatoas at the same time, but as an alternative, I think this card is pretty dang good, and it also looks really cool. So I think that there's a really high chance you see this in Ruby Sapphire decks next season. Next up is another banger Sapphire card. So this is Scrooge McDuck, Resourceful Miser. He's an inkable 4-cost Sapphire character card with 4 strength, 4 willpower. He quests for 1. He has 2 abilities. First one is put it to good use. You may exert 4 items of yours to play this character for free. His second ability is Fortune Hunter. When you play this character, look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may reveal an item card and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. This card seems extremely powerful and will not only go really well in an items heavy deck, but also just traditional Ruby Sapphire. It has pretty good stats and some awesome abilities, so I'd be really surprised if this card doesn't see any constructed play next season. In draft, this might be a harder sell since you probably won't be taking or using very many items, but I'd probably still grab it just because it's a really cool legendary to have in your collection, and the stats actually aren't really that bad. Next is Bagheera. I really hope I am saying that right. Guardian Jaguar. They are an inkable 5-cost steel character card with 4 strength, 3 willpower, and they quest for 2. They have Bodyguard and 1 ability. You must be brave. When this character is banished during an opponent's turn, deal 2 damage to each opposing character. So it's like a conditional grab your sword on your opponent's turn, so that part is not as good, unless you can bait your opponent into fighting this with a reckless character or something. I don't see this ability going off very much. His stats also are very strange for a bodyguard. This might be a good card, but I really don't know yet. Might warrant some testing. In draft though, this card kinda rules, so I would take it every time. But in constructed, I don't know. I don't know yet. My gut says no. Next up is a little bit of a weird one. This is Baloo, Old Iron Paws. He's an uninkable 6-cost Ruby character card with 5 strength, 4 willpower. He quests for 2, and he has 1 ability, Fight Like a Bear. Your characters with 7 strength or more can't be dealt damage. I don't really know where this goes. Maybe there's some Ruby Amber deck with high strength characters that this is good with. Obviously, this would work really, really well with Maui Shark since it would protect him, but this also gets played on the exact same turn as him, so I don't know, what would you rather play? Personally, I'd probably just take the Shark, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I am, but I think I would rather play Shark. And that's it for legendaries, so let's go on to the super rares. This is Bolt Superdog. He's an inkable 5-cost Amber Steel character card with 3 strength, 5 willpower. He quests for 2. He has Shift 3 and 2 abilities. His first one is Mark of Power. Whenever you ready this character, gain 1 lore for each other damaged character you have in play, and Bolt Stare. Exert this character, banish chosen illusion character. I think this is kind of a cool card. It would be a good top end for an aggro Amber Steel list. It'll also probably be really good in draft if you're able to get a wide board. The ability to just banish illusions will probably come in handy in draft, but I don't see it being used in constructed very much unless illusions just become a huge problem, but I seriously doubt they're going to be. Overall, I think it's a solid card with an interesting ability. Next up is Lady, Miss Park Avenue. She is an uninkable 5-cost Amber Emerald character card with 4 strength, 4 willpower. She quests for 2. She has Shift 3 and 1 ability, Something Wonderful. When you play this character, you may return up to 2 character cards with cost 2 or less, each from your discard to your hand. This is some solid support for a Lemon Lime aggro deck. I don't think you'll ever really shift this on turn 3 because there probably won't be much in your discard yet for you to get back. But mid-game, this might be an awesome way to get some characters back to either replay or use as ink. So it's a pretty cool card. I dig it overall. Next up is Belle, Mechanic Extraordinaire. She is an inkable 9-cost Ruby Sapphire character card with 7 strength, 7 willpower. She quests for 3. She has Shift 7 and 2 abilities. Her first ability is Salvage. For each item card in your discard, you pay 1 ink less to play this character using her Shift ability. And Repurpose. Whenever this character quests, you may put up to 3 item cards from your discard on the bottom of your deck to gain 1 lore for each item card moved this way. It's really hard to say whether this is good or not. I think if this card exists in the current game, I would say no, it's not that great. However, we haven't seen all the cards yet from set 7, and I feel like this could be the basis for an entirely new Ruby Sapphire deck down the road that could be pretty cool. In draft, this is nigh unusable, but I could see a world where this ends up being a pretty sought after card. It just needs the right deck around it. Next is Jafar, newly crowned. He is an inkable 4-cost Amethyst Steel character card with 2 strength, 4 willpower, and he quests for 2. He has 1 ability. This is not done yet. During an opponent's turn, whenever one of your illusion characters is banished, you may return that card to your hand. I don't know about this card. It kind of reminds me of Sorcerer Mickey, except you don't get the discount for illusion characters. We haven't seen many illusion characters either, so it's hard to tell how viable this is going to be. In my opinion, this is a pretty good draft card, and it's kind of about it. There's a chance it could see some support in Constructed down the road, but right now, I'm not really feeling it. Next is everyone's favorite punching bag. This is Gantu, Experienced Enforcer. He is an uninkable 4-cost steel character card with 2 strength, 4 willpower. He quests for 1. He has 2 abilities. The first one is Close All Channels. When you play this character, characters can't exert to sing songs until the start of your next turn. And his second ability is Don't Get Any Ideas. Each player pays 2 ink more to play actions or items. This seems pretty strong against steel techs in particular, and maybe also item decks, but nothing really other than that. His second ability does affect ink colors other than steel, and it can be annoying and throw off their game plan. Other than that, his stats aren't amazing and he's uninkable, so I don't think you'll be running like 4 of these in a deck anytime soon. But as a one-of tech card, I could see it being pretty useful in some matchups, but we'll see. Next is Queen of Hearts, Unpredictable Bully. She is an uninkable 5-cost Emerald Ruby character card with 2 strength, 6 willpower. She quests for 2. She has Shift 3 and 1 ability, If I Lose My Temper. Whenever another character is played, put a damage counter on them. Really interesting design here. This for sure goes in these self-damage decks and heavily punishes aggro decks that run characters with 1 willpower. This also kind of changes ping decks from Emerald Steel into Emerald Ruby, since you can capitalize on not only your characters being damaged, but your opponent's characters also being damaged. The 2 strength, though, is very unfortunate since she can just be brawled or seesawed, but, you know, she has to have a weak point somewhere, I guess, especially since she has 6 willpower, which is a lot. Overall, I actually really like this card, and I think it might find a home in a deck somewhere, especially if aggro gets out of hand at your locals. Next is Maid Marian, Badminton Ace. She is an inkable 4-cost Sapphire Steel character card with 3 strength, 3 willpower, and she quests for 2. She has 2 abilities. The first one is Good Shot. During an opponent's turn, whenever one of your ally characters is damaged, deal 1 damage to chosen opposing character. And Fair Play. Your characters named Lady Cluck gain resist 1. This card feels strange. The stipulation that her effect only happens when an ally character is damaged is weird, but also her second ability only applying to a very specific character card that we'll talk about at some point later is even stranger. I would bet money that this is one of the cards in the starter deck, except that neither of the starter decks are Sapphire Steel. So I don't know. This one is super weird to me. I don't really like it. I know there are a lot of allies, but you're locked into Sapphire Steel for this, and I feel like Sapphire Steel, if they want to target any kind of tag, they're kind of targeting heroes and not really allies, so I don't know. Y'all need to stop doing Maid Marian dirty. She did nothing wrong, and yet all her cards are just like really weird or unplayable, but yeah. Next is Mulan, Imperial General. She's an inkable 7-cost Ruby Steel character card with 5 strength, 6 willpower. She quests for 2. She has Shift 5, Evasive, and 1 ability, Exceptional Leader. Whenever this character challenges another character, your other characters gain. This character can challenge ready characters this turn. If you can successfully shift this out, this is a really strong ability that seems to coincide with Ruby Steel Combat Matters design. It's going to be tough to pull off the shift, not because there aren't a bunch of good shift targets in these colors, but just because your opponents will probably expect this or the other good legendary Mulan to come down, so they might avoid exerting altogether if you have a random Mulan just sitting on the board. All in all, I do like this card though, but it will require some tests. My gut tells me that Elite Archer might be a better pick than this, but this is also pretty good. Next up, we've got Pete, Space Pirate. He's an inkable 6-cost Emerald Steel character card with 5 strength, 5 willpower. He quests for 2. He has Shift 4 and 1 ability, Frightful Scheme. When this character is exerted, all opposing characters can't exert to sing songs, and your pirate characters gain Resist 1. This card seems pretty good in its specific deck. We don't really know how good Emerald Steel Pirates will be, but this definitely doesn't hurt it. If this was a card in Azurite Sea, I would say it is incredibly strong in draft, but since it's not, there probably aren't a ton of pirates. So this is just okay in draft just because of the stats. In Constructed, we'll just kind of have to wait and see how Emerald Steel Pirates shakes out first, but I'm gonna say it doesn't really see much play. Next is King Candy Royal Racer. He is an uninkable 4-cost Amber Ruby character card with 2 strength, 2 willpower. He quests for 2. He has 1 ability, Sweet Revenge. Whenever one of your other racer characters is banished, each opponent chooses and banishes one of their characters. For the specific Ruby Amber Racer deck, this is not bad, especially since a fair amount of them have Rush. You could also drop this down on turn 4 and use your lower cost racers to basically trade 2 for 1 into your opponent's characters. Other than that, this sees play probably nowhere else. Its stats are not up to par, and its ability only works on a specific character archetype. In fact, this also might not be great simply because there probably aren't that many racers in the set, so his ability will not proc very much. Next is a card. This is Taka, Elemental Terror. She is an inkable 10-cost Amethyst Ruby character card with 12 strength, 12 willpower. She quests for 3 lore. She has Shift 7 and 1 ability. During your turn, whenever an opposing character is exerted, banish them. This is not a good card. There are so many hoops to jump through to banish your opponent's cards when you could just play Dragonfire for half the cost. Yes, the stats are big, but so is Goofy Knight for a Day, and nobody plays that. So don't play this card unless you're trying to make some kind of cheeky fun deck, because it's not that good. It's not really that good at all. There's also, you know, that Moana card that just banishes Takaz. So even if this ever got out of hand, this is not good. All right, that's it for super rares. Let's move on to some rares. All right, this is Mad Hatter, Unruly Eccentric. He is an inkable 6-cost Emerald Ruby character card with 3 strength, 5 willpower. He quests for 2, and he has 1 ability, Unbirthday Present. Whenever a damaged character challenges another character, you may draw a card. This is a little understated, but I think overall it's kind of decent. That works well with characters like Scar, Vicious Cheater, which would allow you to maybe draw multiple cards in one turn, but you also have to put this down and then hope your opponent exerts their characters to leave them open for attack. So my gut says this isn't great, but my heart really wants this Scar combo to work, so I might try it out. So in Constructed, I guess we'll see, but I would totally play this in draft though. Next up is Hades, Fast Talker. He's an uninkable 6-cost Amethyst Ruby character card with 4 strength, 6 willpower. He quests for 2. He has 1 ability, For Just a Little Pain. When you play this character, you may deal 2 damage to another chosen character of yours to banish chosen character with cost 3 or less. This is expensive, it's uninkable, its ability requires that you have another character on board to take damage, and the target can only be a 3 cost or less. So this is just not that great. I don't really like this much other than the stat line. So honestly, there's probably better stuff in Ruby Amethyst to play. I'm not a huge fan of it. Next up, we have some new Atlantis cards. This is Restoring Atlantis. It is an uninkable 5-cost steel action card that reads, your characters cannot be challenged until the start of your next turn. I think this actually could be a really good one-of tech card in something like Amber Steel to just help close out a game. It is expensive and it's uninkable, but that's kind of why you only really need one of these. I like it overall, but I'm skeptical if it sees a ton of play. But I think when you play this, I think you probably win the game if you have a big enough board. That is, unless your opponent just plays Be Prepared or something. Next is Merlin, Clever Clairvoyant. He is an inkable 1-cost amethyst sapphire character card with 0 strength, 1 willpower, and he quests for 1. He has 1 ability, Prestidigitonium. I'm pretty sure I said that right. Prestidigitonium. All right, whatever. Whenever this character quests, name a card, then reveal the top card of your deck. If it's the named card, put it into your inkwell face down and exerted. Otherwise, put it on top of your deck. I'm not a huge fan of this. You could play this on turn 1, but its ramping is conditional, and you have to guess what the top card of your deck is to even ramp with it. I don't know. Overall, I'm not a fan of this. I would say just stick with Tipo and sail the Azurite Sea. I think you'd be better off. Next up is We've Got Company. This is an uninkable 3-cost ruby action card that says, ready all your characters. They gain Reckless this turn. I think you would really only play this in a ruby steel combat deck so that you could fight again. Other than that, I don't really think this sees a lot of play, but I think in the right deck, this might actually be a very cool card. I just think it's probably only going to go in some very, very specific lists. Next is a pretty interesting one. This is Isabella Madrigal, In the Moment. She is an uninkable 5-cost amber character card with 3 strength, 3 willpower. She quests for 4. She has 1 ability, I Don't Want to Be Perfect. Whenever one of your characters sings a song, this character can't be challenged until the start of your next turn. The stats are a bit nuts, and I bet people use this in some Steel Song decks, but whether it sticks or not remains to be seen. It is pretty scary to be on the other side of, though, with all that lore, so I wouldn't sleep on this. Also, you should 100% play this in draft just because it quests for 4. It's kind of bonkers in that format. This is like a take this every time in draft immediately. Next is Kita, Creative Thinker. She is an inkable 4-cost sapphire character card with 3 strength, 3 willpower. She quests for 1. She has Ward and 1 ability, Key to the Mystery. Exert this character, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put 1 in your inkwell face down and exerted, and the other on top of your deck. I kind of like this card. It's like having the song How Far I'll Go on a body, which is nice, except you don't draw the card. The one issue I see with this is that it's going to be really hard to get this ability off more than once, since your opponent will probably trade into it after you use the ability once. But she does have Ward, so the chances of you using the ability at least once is fairly high. So yeah, I actually like this card a lot. I'll be testing it for sure. Whether it makes the cut near the middle or end of the season, though, kind of remains to be seen, but I do like it. Next is Donald Duck, Lively Pirate. He is an uninkable 2-cost emerald character card with 1 strength, 1 willpower, and he quests for 2. He has 1 ability, Action Duck. Whenever this character is challenged, you may return an action card that isn't a song from your discard to your hand. It seems like Ravensburger really wants to push Emerald Steel Pirates this set, but it's going to be tough with so many uninkable cards in Emerald. This card seems okay, I guess, in that particular deck, but I can't say I'm a believer yet in its effectiveness. But questing for 2 is kind of nice, but he's probably just going to get blasted. Next up, we've got Lucky, Runt of the Litter. He is an uninkable 3-cost sapphire character card with 1 strength, 3 willpower, and he quests for 2. He has 1 ability, Follow My Voice. Whenever this character quests, look at the top 2 cards of your deck. You may reveal any number of puppy character cards and put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. It's been a while since the puppy deck got any support, so I'm sure fans of that will enjoy all of these new cards. It is interesting that they are kind of switching puppies from being an amber amethyst deck into an amber sapphire deck. Will it make puppies a top tier meta deck? Probably not, but it will probably get a little better on the kitchen table or at, casual local play. So for that deck, this is a fine card. It's going to be played probably nowhere else though. Next is Kanai, Magical Bear. He's an inkable 3-cost amethyst character card with 1 strength, 4 willpower, and he quests for 1. He has Challenger 2 and 1 ability, Wisdom of His Story. During your turn, when this character is banished in a challenge, return this card to your hand and gain 1 lore. While I think the ability on this card is really cool, I think the lack of rush here really hurts it. In draft, I think this card will be really, really awesome if you can get your opponent to exert a character, but I kind of doubt this sees any meaningful constructed play without a really easy way to just give a character rush. Next is Kronk, Laid Back. He's an uninkable 5-cost Amethyst Emerald character card with 4 strength, 4 willpower. He quests for 2. He has Ward and 1 ability. I'm loving this. If an effect would cause you to discard 1 or more cards, you don't discard. I don't really think this card is that great. Yes, not having to discard anything is nice, but it doesn't really matter since most of the time you aren't going to be playing against a discard deck. And also it's uninkable, so I'm not a fan of this. I don't see this really seeing much play at all. I think you could play this in draft just because of the ward and the high stats, and it would probably be really, really annoying for your opponents, but I kind of wish this was inkable, because then it wouldn't, you know, really matter, and you could kind of use it as a tech card against discard or something. But yeah, not a huge fan of it overall. And lastly for the video today, this is Cusco Temporary Whale. He's an uninkable 5-cost Amethyst character card with 1 strength, 4 willpower. He quests for 2. He has 1 ability, Don't You Say a Word. Once during your turn, whenever a card is put into your inkwell, you may return chosen character, item, or location with cost 2 to their player's hand. Then that player draws a card. Again, another high cost uninkable, which, you know, it's fine, but I could see this being a good tech card against aggro decks or as a top end to your own aggro deck, or you could use it to bounce your cost 2 kind of aggro cards, you know, away to save them from being, you know, banished into challenge or something. But it's kind of slow. The stats are not great. I don't know. I'm not a huge believer in this, but I don't know. Maybe it'll be good. We'll see. Anyway, that is all the cards for this week. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, remember to like and subscribe to the Sorcerer's Hat for more Lorcana videos. I post a brand new one every single Friday. I hope you all have a great day. Bye-bye. Love you.